Hello! In this video, I will be talking about the character Steven in the Cartoon Network show Steven Universe. More specifically, as he is now in Steven Universe Future. I will brief over stuff from the original series for context, but then I will leap into Future. Also, obvious spoiler warning, at the time of writing this script, the most recent episode is episode 10, Prickly Pear, and there is also a minute-long audio leak that I will talk about towards the end. If you don't want Steven Universe Future spoilers, watch another video. Anyways, let's dive in. So, in the original series, it was canon that Steven thought he was a bit of a disappointment, maybe, to the Crystal Gems because he was not his mom who had to give up her physical form for Steven to exist.
I'm not Rose Quartz.
Which, now we can all be glad that he wasn't like her, considering she was literally a two-faced liar who also hurt Volleyball and abandoned Spinel for 6,000 years, and was just overall not the greatest person, but nonetheless, he felt like he had to live up to her. He also seemed to internalize a lot, which was most clear in Mindful Education, where a bunch of stuff he was trying to repress came up.
Sometimes you hurt people by accident. You just have to try not to think about it.
We start off Steven Universe Future with an episode that teaches us two things, one of which being that Steven and the Crystal Gems have turned Little Homeworld into a school for gems, and later in the episode, Steven visits Jasper, who points out something.
You're the one that needs help.
Then, Steven turns pink, and it seems that he turns pink whenever he's mad or just, upset in general during Steven Universe Future. Thought I'd mention it since it's, a recurring thing. In the third episode, the Zoomans return and introduce Steven to 3 rose quartzes, reasonably so. Everyone was a bit uncomfortable, especially Steven, Pearl, and Greg. And Steven, per usual, tried his best to internalize how uncomfortable he was for the sake of other people.
I've been pretending that I'm fine because it's not your fault, but I'm not fine.
But that failed and they went to leave because they were upset. He apologized. He didn't have a pink outburst or anything.
It's subtext, Steven.
But I think it still showed that he hasn't quite dealt with his feelings on his mom as much as he should. Episode 4 is one of the main reasons that I think that there is literally a hashtag Steven needs therapy and why there are so many memes. There are so many memes about how emotionally unstable this child is, and there's also the audio leak, but we'll talk about that later. In the episode, Steven is using his healing powers to help with injuries from the students at Little Home School because volleyball is a contact sport. One of the people who comes to him is Pink Pearl, otherwise known as White Pearl or Volleyball. Here, we see that even the mention of Pink Diamond can turn Steven into one of his little pink modes.
This is all Pink Diamond.
My mom? Sorry, it's just baggage.
Later in that same episode, while trying to heal Pink Pearl, he has a little pink outburst.
Stop it! I can't deal with one more horrible thing she did, okay? I don't want to hear about it. I don't even want to think about it.
Steven.
I just want to fix it!
Yikes.
That boy needs therapy. Psychosomatic. That boy needs therapy. Psychosomatic. That boy needs therapy.
Now, episode 6 is comedic for the most part, with Onion's crazy antics and Rainbow Quartz 2.0 being the best Mary Poppins wannabe to ever exist. But there is something that happens that is used kind of for comedy and also for a cheesy lesson of the episode, but it's still ominous to think about. Steven just frickin' dies.
Steven!
I shouldn't have overbooked my schedule. No!
Okay, obviously not. The whole thing was that Sunstone, Stephen and Garnett's fusion, was teaching Little Homeschool about safety by telling them about all the potential futures where they could die if not careful because future vision. But it's still worrying to think that there is an alternate universe where Stephen just dies from stressing himself out too much. In episode 9, Stephen reveals that he wants to stay with all of his friends as much as possible, and he doesn't like people leaving and changing and all that stuff, which is basically the whole point of the series, but it's alright. And he ends up making a giant bubble wall thing that is slowly closing in on itself, with a bunch of his friends inside of it. But thankfully, Sadie's new partner Shep manages to defuse the situation.
If you don't get people in the grow, you'll suffocate them. In this case, literally.
Okay, now we need to talk about episode 10. In this episode, Stephen accidentally makes a sentient cactus version of himself and vents to it about all the stuff going on.
I can't tell Pearl how I feel because she'll blame herself and spiral out of control and I'll have to pick up the pieces. And I don't want any more high and mighty advice from Garnet. I just want to know better for once. And I'm so sick of Amethyst acting like she's so mature now.
Later in the episode, Stephen fights the cactus because it kept repeating everything he said. I mean, personally, if I had a sentient cactus and it was repeating all my deepest, darkest secrets, I wouldn't want anyone to know either. Alright, now we're going to talk about the audio leak. So if you don't want to know about the contents of the audio leak, you can skip to the timestamp on the screen. But here we are. And I won't play it, but I'm gonna talk about it. So if you want to go listen to it, I'll put a link to it in the description. Anyways, a lot of people think that it's Stephen getting corrupted, but I don't think that's the case. It doesn't sound like it. I think it's just him having one of his little outbursts, and I think that in the episode he will maybe open up to the gems about everything going on, because feelings, I hope so at least. If not, I worry for him. My conclusions, I think that Stephen is having a hard time because he internalizes everything and tries to quote-unquote fix everyone. He also hasn't dealt with his feelings about his mom as much as he should, and I think he still feels some guilt over all the things she did. Honestly, I would too. Like, it's not his fault, but I would just feel secondhand guilt, like, why? Of all the people, why? Let's hope he gets better after the hiatus. And if you enjoyed the video and want more stuff, be sure to hit that subscribe button and also hit the notification bell so you will never miss an upload. If you want that, feel free to leave your own thoughts on the matter in the comments or on the community tab post in case my comments get disabled. Stay derpy, stay murpy, stay hydrated, my friendos.